Hello, welcome to Minute of the Apes, the daily podcast where we break down every minute of every Planet of the Apes movies, 1 minute at a time. I'm your host, Todd, and across from me, I've got Sean. I almost called myself Sean.
I know you were reading that.
No, I actually wasn't. I'm just excited, and we'll tell everybody we're doing this face-to-face for the first time. We're sitting in Zeus Comics with our second
guest.
Yes, our second guest, and we'll let him have a moment to tell us all about himself. But it was the fact that I look across from Sean, and we've had those moments before where even over on the Skype type thing we use, how many times did I buzz that time where I kept calling myself Sean?
4 times in a row you screwed it up, yes.
So I didn't screw it up. It wasn't happening, but whatever. So we're up to minute 41. This one begins with Zera telling Zaius he's over here, ends with Zaius looking at Taylor and saying, "Man has no understanding." Sean, do you want to give us our human ape count?
At this point, we have 2 living humans, 2 dead, we're assuming. 1 we know is dead. I'm assuming the other one's dead. A shrewdness of apes. And for people just joining us, that's what a group of apes is called, a shrewdness.
Is that literally what it's called?
A shrewdness, I had to look that up.
Wow.
Yeah. We have a murder of crows, it's a shrewdness of apes. And then we have a gaggle of what we're assuming are humanoids.
And because you heard the voice, I don't want to leave him being a phantom voice any longer. So, Richard, tell us all about yourself, please.
This is Richard from Zeus Comics in Dallas, Texas. I've been friends with Sean for 16 or 17 years now, the longest the store has been open for 17 years. Zeus has a web presence at ZeusComics.com, and most of the people who use our Zeus Comics Online use our checklist service, which is what Sean does each week to get his comic books.
Yeah, every Sunday.
Every Sunday we're hanging out in a store that's got comics and pop culture items, and anytime they make Planet of the Apes toys or figures or comics, we certainly get them in.
So Zeus, Z-E-U-S.
Z-E-U-S, not to be confused with Zero or Zaius. Zeus.
The Eisner Award-winning
The Eisner Award-winning Dr. Zeus, not Zaius.
So we're excited to have Richard simply because, you know, he's one of us. He's one of the pop culture people. And I know we had Jeff on, and the fun thing there last week with Jeff was that Jeff was like Sean. He'd never seen the film before. Mm-hmm. Richard at least watched it all the way through. So this was your first time to see the film all the way through. You
know, it's one of those films that you constantly catch on cable and late at night and things like that. So I've seen elements and moments of it over time, but I hadn't actually watched it all the way through. So I finally watched it all the way through. I mean, I knew basically how it unfolds and what happens, but I didn't know really the details to it.
So you're me, but you've gone through it all the way.
I did. I didn't want to come on here and sound like everything else.
Well, and I worried about Sean because Sean, you know, to anyone that doesn't know this, has never seen it and is seriously watching this 1 minute at a time. And I've wondered, because at least when you watch a film all the way through, you get that you're kind of waxing it. You're going moment to moment. You're giving them a little bit of leeway. Sean is scrutinizing everything, and I think it's actually going to distort his opinion of the film by the end of it.
The first half hour of this was a painful slog of just people being dicks and walking. It was Lord of the Rings without any of the fun.
Yeah, they were kind of hard on each other. Like, I'm like, why are these people friends? They're awful.
We're going to go 1,000, 1,500 years into the future and screw everybody else. We're just a bunch of dicks.
I mean, no wonder they're extinct.
Well, and what we joked about was that the spaceship looks like it was almost an IKEA-built spaceship. It's the worst thing with a couple of chairs off the rack.
Had some bar stools sitting around.
And some egg crates on the side of the walls.
We're smoking in the
That's exactly it. It's not a highly pressurized environment, but he's in there just going at it.
Exactly.
But we did get past that. We're on into this now, so we're glad to have you here.
I'm so thankful you didn't call me on the moments when they're crashing into space for 5 minutes.
The misery minutes.
The kaleidoscope of colors.
Well, we call those space farts.
Space farts, okay.
Space fart, where they go through the future.
Yeah. Those first few minutes, it was just excruciating. We actually contemplated, can you do this?
Yeah.
But we made our way through it.
Every episode was going to be, all right, this sucks. Done.
Well, this next minute really kind of starts to get into what I'm excited about, the substance of the movie itself.
Absolutely. And so, you know, going back to it, and I know at this point, we're just about to release the episodes for everyone to hear. So you've not been privy to what we talked about. That this is written by about 3 different writers. A couple of them had been blacklisted, and it was their opportunity. One of them, and I don't have it in front of me, but had written Bridge on the River Kwai. Was not allowed to get a screen credit for it because of his blacklisting, and so a lot of his idea of what society does to a person, shuns them, is in this as well. And then, of course, you got Rod Serling,
which is probably why Charlton Heston was smoking at the beginning of the movie.
That's
it was his send-off of his own. Yeah,
very true. So, I mean, you do have a lot of. You're going to tap into a lot of things that there were the struggles that were going on at the time. You're going to have that, but without getting too deep into that, why don't we start on the minute? Are we cool with that?
Let's go for it.
So, I'm going to start off simply because we have Dr. Zaius, and if you want to sing the song...
Dr. Zaius.
I knew it was coming. Played by Maurice Evans, who died in 1983. Character actor with a huge resume, but more of a huge stage presence. He never really had success at a grand level outside of a few things like this. However, he was in Rosemary's Baby. He was in The Jerk and played Hobart, which I don't remember. The Jerk, I know. I don't remember Hobart.
No.
I'd hope someone would know. But he was also on Bewitched, Fantasy Island, and Love Boat. And most of all, my favorite character in the whole world, Batman, he was the puzzler on the original TV show.
Wow.
So without the makeup, that was Mr. Maurice Evans. But again, a huge stage presence. You go on and the guy was doing Shakespeare and on the grand stage. So a very good actor.
And we're recording this the day after Batman Day. How appropriate.
So then you also move on, and I try not. we're going to get to the scenes here, but I try to break down a little bit of the production too. The role was originally Edward G. Robinson.
Really?
Okay.
He did a lot of the actual film tests, but he eventually got fired because Mr. Chambers, who did the makeup, let it be known that that Edward G. Robinson would not shave his beard to have the makeup applied, and it was going to take much longer, so they basically get out.
Fascinating.
But Edward G. Robinson, for those who don't know, film noir classics, Double Indemnity, Key Largo, Orson Welles' The Stranger, was in The Ten Commandments and Soylent Green with Mr. Heston.
All right, so he had a background with him.
Yeah, he did have a background, but I digress. So
let me ask you this, though, because this is Dr. Zaius' first appearance.
We got a little taste of it. This is really his first time to talk.
This is when he started talking.
Okay.
Yeah. He literally walked past the bars and
one of the earlier minutes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. But is this the first time we've also saw kind of the hierarchy of apes with the orangutan as... Because he's definitely a different species, right?
We've seen that.
Was the surgery also done with one of the orangutans, or was that also
with the chimpanzees? They kind of talked. There was a discussion about how Dr. Zaius was trying to move herself up,
right?
Or Dr. Zira, sorry, not Dr. Zaius. Dr. Zira was trying to move herself up, and was that acceptable or not?
So we've already seen the hierarchy of apes at this point.
To an extent, but this is the first time I think it's really been defined, because you had. The gorillas were the hunters, the more aggressive. You had the chimpanzees that were intellectual enough to at least be animal psychologists and operating on brains and performing really bad transfusions and whatnot. But
unhygienic
transfusions. With Dr. Zaius and kind of the orangutan with the almost a different color structure in hair, really begins to kind of bring out the idea that the species do have different societal roles.
Yeah, there's very much a little class situation going on in and of itself with the greens, the oranges, and the purplish, which I never can't figure out what color that is the gorillas get. But yeah, that is the first time we've actually put that on the page.
This audience is starting to understand this hierarchy of the apes themselves.
Yeah.
Yes. So we get Zira speaking to Taylor and asking him to speak. Is anyone else taken by the fact that she says speak, and he simply puts his hand to his throat and goes, and of course you can't see this. Yes, he mouths, and there's nothing coming out. He's not frustrated. It's one of those classic Heston moments of chewing a bit of scenery that's not there. But I mean, do the natives that are there? Do they speak at all?
Do they not make any noises?
Yeah,
grunting.
Are they truly mutes? Because we've had that up till now, where it's kind of you look over and there's we don't technically know who she
hasn't been named yet.
Yeah, she doesn't have a name.
He hasn't given her name yet.
So
because he can't even speak yet.
Yes, that's correct. So he looks at them. Did they make any noises?
No, they were just them throwing fruit at them and then just running away whenever the horn blew and they were being hunted down.
That would suggest that they themselves are some type of mute. It goes beyond just the inability to speak,
right?
Or the ability to speak, but the inability to speak.
They don't make any grunts. They don't make any animalistic noises.
They don't even try to make. Again,
what was that?
What kind of noise?
How I wish we actually did video because Sean looking across flapping gums at that point.
They don't even try to mouth anything because they have no reason to do that.
So that's why she thinks it's unique, because she sees him trying to mouth something.
Exactly. And maybe that's it. Maybe in their muteness they don't even try to engage from a verbal standpoint. We don't see any communicating from them at all.
No,
we don't see any hand movement. We don't see anything. We don't see pointing. They're very passive in their interactions.
No, we did see in the previous scene, we did see Dr. Zero want to give the one a sugar cube.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
They can put their hands out.
He made some type of motion that indicated that he wanted a sugar cube.
They're grasping.
Grasping.
Which brings up the point that we noticed in that moment. The second guy that gets sugar cube. Sugar cube picks it up like an ear of corn. Did you notice this? In the background, he rolls it in his fingers. You look and you think, didn't the director or somebody kind of go, that might be a bit much, but
this is my minute. I'm eating the sugar cube.
But moving on from that, I thought Maurice Evans did a fantastic job, probably the best with anybody in the ape makeup to this point. Did we notice at all his face, how he uses his jaw
to actually move around,
and he over exaggerates, and so there's a lot of gesticulations with his face to make that makeup come alive.
Yeah, so it
fantastic
actually looks like the mouth works instead of just being a piece of rubber.
Right, and I don't mean this in a bad way at all, but did you notice that it wasn't just an ape waddle. It's almost like, did he find a character beat where he held his right hand afflicted, and there's something there. And I'm sorry, this is your introduction to us getting incredibly granular.
No. I'm trying to replay the scene in my head right now to visualize that happening. I remember him coming in and kind of being ushered in, kind of.
Right.
But I hadn't quite put pieces together.
I'm assuming that they didn't do research like they do today, where they'll literally go to orangutan enclosures and actually watch them and record them and stuff like that. Maybe he just saw a video of a monkey or a film of a monkey at some point.
He might have been just going off memory of it.
And just saying, I think this is what they want.
Maybe.
Because they have long arms, so I've got to keep my arms up here. I don't know.
I mean, to me, it would be a hell of a lot more interesting if it was an affliction that he gave to Dr. Zaius, and after, to let going back to that with these films, I mean, this, until Star Wars came along, this was earth-shattering to me. These films were just everything, and I've seen them hundreds of times, and I've never noticed that before. And of course, it is getting into this, watching it minute by minute, that you don't watch for those things,
those details.
But it's a very interesting little choice that he makes there.
Yeah.
Do you have something?
Yeah, no, I just thought it was funny that they were very impressed by the fact that Taylor was using a blanket as clothing, while everybody else is wearing underwear and bras, and so that's not impressive. The fact that they make clothing to wear, but a blanket is a big deal to them.
So anytime just because I'm going through this through minute, anytime you reference something, that's a moment that's happened earlier because you've seen it already.
So that's our rule. You cannot flash forward unless it's something that you're trying to make such a great point about.
Well, I remember the moment about where she talks about his intelligence because she fashioned some clothing out of a blanket.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I'm like, wait a minute, was that before or after? So the fact that you haven't seen it, I can only assume that when you make that reference, it was referenced. It happened earlier already. It hasn't happened yet.
Well, it happened in this minute.
It happens in this minute.
Oh, is it this minute?
Yeah,
okay.
Zara actually says to it that he's fashioned a blanket into clothing.
But they're already wearing clothing.
Yeah, and I thought the same thing. All the humans wear something to cover themselves. Is their modesty natural, taught, or is it learned, or,
Do they pick it up from the apes that they're being hunted by?
And I never thought about it. They do get down to the point where we have native bras.
Mm-hmm.
She's
wearing a bikini.
Unnamed woman is wearing a bikini.
The unnamed woman, yes, is wearing a bikini, so why are they impressed by him draping a blanket over himself?
There are some oddities where I wonder, and it's anytime you get into film where it has multiple writers, if you don't start mixing the narrative really when you get down to this level.
Yeah.
It seems like a great thing to bring it up that he's put a blanket to cover himself, but
that would only be impressive if everybody was running around naked.
Which, of course, in the late 60s, they could not make them all naked.
But they already had the whole bun shot 20 minutes earlier.
They did have that. I was kind of surprised by that. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, exactly.
Why? I don't want to go back and retry something.
No, please do.
That was so
Bring
foolish.
it up.
That was so foolish. We're on a planet. We're in water. Hey,
Okay,
this
well,
is what the first
so
time
what
we
drove
get
me
it.
nuts was that you've got, is it ANSA?
Yeah,
It's
ANSA.
not NASA.
It's not
ANSA
NASA.
is
It's
the-
ANSA.
They can't afford to give them underwear.
No.
They get out there and they have to take off their crappy vinyl spacesuits and
Right.
get naked.